This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made in first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. So that's a good deal. So let's get to it, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. How effective are local unions? Big question. Home Goods is set to contract 700 workers into the Worker United Labor Union. This story brings to life some very critical questions that go on the workroom floor. Questions like how effective are unions in the long run, period. This article made front page news last week in the Vindicator discussing Home Goods Regional Distribution Centers ratified 3-year collective bargaining agreement. The article was in detail. Now, for a long time, there has been small talk about unions being the centerpiece of how some businesses fail, not just small businesses. Most small businesses are not unionized. If they are, they're in groups of small businesses, but it's mainly the big businesses that are unionized, that have the big money. Now, some have even speculated that unions killed Northside Medical Center. That's people are still talking about. Delphi Packers Union is still fighting for their workers, some of their workers' retirement pay. But locally, the company is no more. So this is adding some more fuel to this fire. The Postal Service unions, this is even in the Postal Service, their union is still battling to keep workers in the fight. But there are even gripes in the Postal Service. Some people saying that what's the purpose of being in a union or paying the dues when they have to protect you anyway, and this is killing some unions because people don't want to pay dues, but they want to be protected. Amazon workers have been in the fight also to unionize because of poor labor reports. Now, fast food chain workers are also trying to unionize in some instances. Unions all over America, this is a fact, keep workers paid and try to get workers treated fairly, but some people say that some unions have become corrupt and involved with management. But because of so many local union jobs that have come and gone, what got this story in are the pros and cons of labor unions. So this story is developed. Story number 2. Why Lordstown Motor Company has to succeed locally. Lordstown Motor Company has been taking some very critical hits in the media lately, probably because of some very raw business shortfalls that have been taking place. But here are several reasons why Lordstown Motor Company has to succeed. Actually, I'm just going to give you 3 or 4. Now, number 1, if the company succeeds at creating an all-electric pickup truck and beyond, the long-term effects locally would be a huge gain in the economic sense. Makes sense. Number 2, innovation. Where there's innovation, there is business traffic and small business growth. That can be proven because when GM set up shop in Lordstown, you saw small businesses flourishing because GM was giving them business. Number 3, jobs. If this company can succeed and grow, with that comes jobs. The key to Lordstown Motors' story is the fact that it's made headlines for several weeks now. So it's constantly been in the news consistently. Now, although most of the stories have been bad press, the company still has to succeed. Story number 3. Could Ohio finally be in control of COVID-19? With the vaccine, local residents have just about moved on from the COVID-19 mandates and madness, but many are still trying to follow the rules. Some, I must say. Now, people have literally stopped wearing masks, literally. And with cases on the decline, it almost appears as though the valley could finally be in control of the coronavirus. Now, the main factor being addressed in this story is numbers and the data showing that the vaccine has had a huge impact on new case numbers. Now, through it all, there are still mysteries surrounding this virus. Now, mysteries yet to be solved, and even local residents remain suspicious. Story number 4. Local schools seem to have a solid game plan. Local schools have been weathering the storm and seem to have a solid game plan to get kids back on track. The plan involves federal aid and adjustments to the local schools' learning curriculum. Massive amounts of federal dollars have poured into local school districts to help ride the COVID-19 wave, and according to a local Vindicator article, districts plan to use all available resources to help close the learning gap brought on by COVID-19. Story number 5. Local people are starting to see the benefits of investing locally. COVID-19 may have tested the willpower of many struggling Americans, but when it comes to conserving and stretching the mighty dollar locally, local residents are seeing the value of keeping money circulating in the local economy. Some people have even decided to stay home this summer, not take a vacation. This is the data. The data also shows that where local dollars are being spent, that means stimulation. So this is all in the data, that when you don't go on vacation, spend those dollars locally, you start seeing some results in the local economy. Economists are also observing how local dollars are being channeled into the local business market on a daily basis outside of the vacations. Now, a large number of economists are keeping a close eye on how stimulus money is affecting local markets also, even with the rise of inflation. There are staggering numbers in this story that stem from good and bad spending habits, but if people keep the money local, this could help local businesses stay afloat. Story number 6. Local banks have been struggling to stay alive in the local market. That's not good. Now, if you haven't noticed by now that a lot of transitions have been taking place in the banking arena locally, then chances are you could be lost in the park because there's something been happening in the banking business locally. Banks have been turning to computer bank tellers, automation, mergers, and some banks have even been dissolved. If you haven't taken keeping a close eye on what banks are just disappearing. Now, the latest merger is Farmers and Cortland Bancorp. Now, each of these banks were founded in the 1800s, so that shows you this was happening in the banking system. The main idea revolving and centering around this story is how COVID-19 has changed the course of everything, including banks. This is a big story because if banks continue to fail or fall or dissolve in any way, then there is less money that can flow into the local market because people won't have access to needed loans and funds. Now, financial institutions like Home Savings and Loan, they have also had to merge with another bank, and some local banks have even been downsizing to conserve costs. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week is the climb. Top 2 stories that made it in this week. Story number 7. Ohio's new budget plans could prove how hard the state has been working to meet its financial goals and financial obligations. This is a big story. That's why I made it the top 2 this week. Do you like it or love it? Tax cuts and new school funding are all involved in the new $75 billion budget. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. Budget tax cuts totaled out to be about $1.64 billion. The new bill also changes the way schools get funded by the state. The budget is also cited for targeting abortion clinics while also offering food assistance programs. Now, this budget also includes giving college athletes the right to use their name and image for profit. This is all tied up in Ohio's budget. That's big business for college athletes. Here's some more. State-funded childcare, electronic bingo, sex education, Medicare, internet access. This is all in Ohio's budget. Story number 8 in the top, lucky number 8 ball story that made it in this week. Step right up. I got the top story here. Ooh wee, 8 ball, 8 ball, 8 ball. Bop, 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 bop. Youngstown has to find a way to get a hold of its crime rate. This is a serious story. On about a weekly average, someone has been killed in Youngstown, and the question is why? Why are people killing each other while other people, have to find a solution? People from every profession sitting back and wondering what is causing people to continuously head down the wrong path. The violence. Some search and continue to be in search every day of better policies, and something is just plain stupidity. There's just no solution for fixing stupidity. Revenge, tactics, street violence, the fast life, drug life. Somebody listens to a music that impulses their creative nature to kill and destroy other people, all for the sake of street justice. Now, the key talking point in this story is cost and time. America spends a lot of money trying to fix people while leaving many productive people out of the equation. The justice system on a daily basis is in a consistent paranoid state, and people are getting very tired of people who deliberately break the rules. Some people get away with it. Youngstown has to get a grip on this problem to cure the broken image that people have of a safe community. So people have a broken image of Youngstown. They don't consider it safe, so they don't want to go there. Now, within Youngstown city limits, the only way this can be corrected is if somebody somewhere breaks the cycle of what people consider to view Youngstown as, and that is not a safe place to live, not a safe place to do business. But other business activists and community activists and people are getting in the fight, and they're trying their best to get a grip on the violence and make Youngstown's image look a little bit better in the future. And that's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Whew. Well, those are our top 8 local stories, folks. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, so don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. Boom! It's the 4th of July. Do you know where your kids are? They could be in the backyard playing with gasoline, trying to blow things up. That's why you have to keep an eye this 4th of July. Unless you blew some stuff up last night, blow some stuff up today. But the good thing is that you're celebrating your independence, and that's what matters. Let's not forget the sacrifices made to make this day possible, and let's not forget to fellowship and be thankful in the presence of mediation. There's something to think about. There's something to be grateful for. I think there's greatness in this story. The sun opened up, the clouds came down, and the mediator came out and spread love and joy on Independence Day. Oh, whew. Oh, shivering, baby. Whew. That's my story. Boom, and I'm sticking to it. So let's get to it. Ooh, smooth, sensuous, spicy. Story number one, why the IRS has been in a lot of headlines lately. Big headline. Falling behind on filings. Delays all across the board. Everyone is wondering about the tax code and the IRS. Everybody's wondering about them. They want to know what's going on. IRS stories are not only catching the attention of Congress, but is catching the attention of accountants and people still waiting on their refund. One reason includes stimulus checks. The IRS had to issue stimulus checks to a large number of Americans. Now, another factor in this is the fact that in the last decade, the IRS has lost 17,000 enforcement workers, while also having its budget decreased by 20%. That's a big factor. The IRS is also collecting upwards to $1 trillion less than what the federal government is owed in taxes every year, according to a Times article. People aren't paying their taxes. Here is another talking point provided by Redditch. He's saying that fewer than 100,000 employees who work for the IRS, 52,000 are expected to retire or leave the agency over the next 6 years. One huge factor keeping this story alive is the ripple effect that takes place when people cheat or don't pay their taxes. Now, this means less money for schools, roads, Social Security, and Medicare. Another talking point in this article is that the article points out is that the fact that the more the government programs that the more government programs that create, especially the child tax credit that's created by Joe Biden, the more these government programs keep circulating, the more burden that goes on the IRS, the more the burdens grow. Story number two, could the current heat wave be ammunition for climate activists? The current heat wave has climate activists on the move again. Sweltering temperatures across the country have caused a large number of people to once again fall into the climate change debate. Temperatures in some parts of the world have reached as high as 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Seattle reached 108 degrees Fahrenheit. This is 4 degrees higher than its record high. Portland, Oregon reached 115 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat has caused power cables to melt and electricity bills to shoot through the roof, skyrocket, expensive. The heat has been so bad that road crews have had to hose down roads to keep them cool. Wildfires also remain a factor, causing this story to gain some steam. Literally, gain some steam, get it? People have literally died from heat exhaustion in Canada due to the heat waves. Story number three, short and sweet. What can we learn from the Florida condo collapse story? We can learn a lot, especially about safety and how to not take it lightly. About 12 lives lost, and still there's no sign of over 100 people. Building crews and inspectors are all over this story. The main question circulating around this story is, how did this happen? Story number four, several reasons why racial stories are staying alive. Not just black and white. For over 6 to 8 years now, people have been swamped with racial stories, but there are several reasons why these stories are staying alive. Here's one. According to a BBC headline, the UN Human Rights Chief is calling for reparations over racism. Now, this was all brought on by the death of George Floyd. Number two, the constant stain of slavery and a history of racial battles is still a hot topic that's eagerly being discussed, even in today's environment. Some people are shying away from it, though, but some people just don't take delight in bringing it up. Number three, Growing proof of racial inequalities and systematic wounds that are being addressed by a number of minority groups is also keeping this story alive and in circulation. Number 4, a growing trend of political influence regarding racial matters are also in this story, keeping it alive. Another issue providing ammunition to this story, the final straw, is the removal of Confederate statues from the Capitol and from around the United States, and from around the just statues that show any semblance of slavery from around the world. Now, the House voted 285 to 120 to remove all public displays honoring those who defended the Confederacy. All of these factors are keeping racial stories in circulations, and it's not just about black and white. Other ethnic groups are in this story also and in circulation. And that's why story number 4 made in this week. Well, those are our top 4 stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Here's a story. When I was a kid, I was pushed around, bullied. And I knew that I had to fight. I had to fight for the children, the other children that were being bullied. I had to fight for an independent state to go up against the monarchies, the dictators. And I had to fight for my independence. And I did it all by myself. I stood up against the bully. I took a blow. I took some hits. There were fireworks. But I survived. Ooh, I'm sizzling. Psst, I'm sizzling, baby. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it, baby. Ooh, frightening. Let's get to it. Story number 5. COVID has really brought the world to its breaking point, but the vaccine seems to be the only solution at the moment. Story number 6 is Young America giving up on the American dream. Young America, I have a message for you. When you've lost it, you're down and out and your funds are low. Think of me. I sit in a small room all day thinking about stories to tell around Independence Day. Ooh, I still got the American dream. It's in me, baby. I hope I motivate you to believe in the dream. Young America continues to complain about policies put in place by older Americans that don't work. They're saying the policies don't work for them. The generational wealth data is what got this story in, and policies from the past that seem to have a lot of younger Americans caught up in the financial web, financial disparities, if you want to be exact. As this story develops, we may see a shift because older Americans are trying to get younger Americans to get the big picture, while younger Americans are trying to get older Americans to understand. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Oh, I'm ready for the top 2. I'm ready. Are you ready? Story number 7, the drugs and crime problems have to stay in the headlines to raise awareness. Drugs and crime stories are still dominating the headlines, which is bad. People need to get off that stuff and get to work, do something productive, get an education. There's so many things to do. Books everywhere, jobs, create things, atmosphere. You can even find the cure for cancer. Why are you still on drugs? One main reason has to do with the current political state and the state of the police on why crime and drug problems are so bad. Who knows? Police can't save the world. They can barely save themselves. Some of them can't even save, the cat in the tree, but the firefighter does it. little inside. Sorry about that. Now, this story also addresses the drug war that is still taking place and doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. So all that is wrapped up in this story, especially around Independence Day. A half a ton of cocaine. This is even worse. In another country was found floating off of the shore of Algeria. That's not good. Cocaine is everywhere. That's a lot of cocaine. That's a lot of drugs. The drug war is also hindering people from getting back to work. This is a real story, folks. The drug game is real, and it is affecting a countless number of lives. People can't get off this stuff. It is cheating to the max. You get people on this stuff. They can't get off. They get doped up. They get start stealing, and it's bad. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Made it. It's getting exhausting sometimes. Going through mediation, coming in here every day to look through over stories. 200 for you. Let's get to story number 8. Story number 8. The job market and the economy remain a hot topic. I'm doing it for you. Keep the economy going. COVID-19 has crippled the job market. Period. Now, businesses continue to ask for help, and people all over who can't find a job may not be looking for one because the benefits outweigh the incentives of for working. Now, there are a lot of spectators and speculations surrounding this story, and a lot of it has to do with the cost of getting the economy back on track and getting people back to work. At the moment, startups are fueling the economic recovery. 2.5 million new business applications were filed in 2021. That's a lot of business applications. A lot of people trying to open their own business. One article pointed out by CNN Business points out that says that there are millions of jobs and a shortage of applicants. So this article goes into detail saying that the jobs are there, but nobody wants to work. What are people doing? I mean, come on. The will to work is the necessities of life. You have to work. A record 4 million people quit their jobs in April, according to the article. One survey claims that over 40% of people were considering leaving their employer this year. So I hope I motivate you, especially around this Independence Day, to get to work. Work. Well, I hope you got something out of today's program. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always get something out of doing the research. If you want to show some support, it doesn't take much. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just in the middle, the mediator. I'll say this again. If you want to show us some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. I have to get out of here so I can get on with my 4th of July. And I want to thank you all for tuning in and enjoy, stay safe. Have a good week and work. Do something. Cut the grass. Do your hair. Cut your hair. Do something special with the kids. But do it in the essence of thinking about work. Well, that's it, everybody. I'm out of here. Thank you for tuning to the media this week with me, Brian West. I'll be back next week to look through over 200 or more stories just for you. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.